Recently, I was playing a game with one of my lower rated friends, and he was laning against Zed. And we were just, chilling, playing League of Legends, having a good time, and all of a sudden, about 6 or 7 minutes into the game, I hear him freak out, and he's like, "What? How did that kill me?" And I go to look mid, and of course Zed is level 6, and he just all-in'd my friend and 100-0'd him. And I started laughing. I'm like, well, Zed popped level 6 and he just killed you. And his response was, well, Zed wasn't doing that much damage before. Well, why is he doing so much more damage now all of a sudden? He's just one level higher. And that made me realize that a lot of players don't really understand power spikes, not to their fullest. And that is pretty understandable. Power spikes are one of the hardest things to learn because it just takes time to learn them. Today, we're going to be going over 10 of the most notorious power spikes in the game, just to get you guys thinking about power spikes, how you can be abusing them to their fullest, and how you can be avoiding them to make sure that you're not having any unnecessary deaths. Before that, I want to remind you to make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There, we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy-to-use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles, as well as champion-specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. Now, the biggest issue around power spikes is that people aren't using them to their fullest. If you are power spiking on your champion, you need to be playing up in the enemy champion's face. You need to make them uncomfortable, make them miss CS, kill them, do something with that power spike. If you're hitting level 6 on Zed and you're just playing passive at your tower, you're playing the champion wrong. You should be looking to make a kill happen. Now, it's not going to be possible in every single matchup, but for the vast majority of matchups, you're going to be able to walk away with a kill at level 6, so you should be looking for it. Now, since I've already used Zed as an example, we'll go ahead and put him at number 10, along with Akali and Fizz. These are all assassins that unlock insane single-target assassination potential at level 6. Their ultimates are designed to single one target out and just kill them. The big mistake that I see when a lot of people are playing these champions is they just sit around even after popping level 6 and they won't go for an all-in. They won't even look to blow any summoner spells or anything at all. They might wait until their jungler comes to gank, or they go back to base and shop, purchase more items or something. But with these champions, you don't need to wait for anything. As soon as you hit 6, you should be pulling the trigger, going in and looking for a kill. Remember, whoever you're playing against doesn't know exactly when you're going to be hitting 6. They can't see your EXP bar, so you have that advantage over them, meaning you can set up a kill as soon as you pop 6. Next up at number 9, we're going to be talking about the level 2 power spike. Now, this is more of a generic power spike that applies to pretty much every single champion in the game. Everyone gains an additional ability at level 2, so obviously they're going to be stronger. Some champions are going to use that better than others, say Talon for example, and you need to be very careful of those champions. Now, we are going to be talking about specifically laners for this entry. Junglers also have level 2 power spikes, but we'll talk about those later. With laning, the level 2 power spike is different because, again, some players won't know when you're going to hit level 2. Remember, as a solo laner, you're always going to hit level 2 after clearing the first wave and 1 minion from the second wave. If you're in a duo lane, instead it's going to be the first full wave and then the 3 melees in the next wave. Again, you need to use this knowledge to put yourself in a position to at least trade heavily at level 2 if you can win the matchup. Don't just be playing far back in your own minions. Walk up close to the enemy champion, and as soon as you hit level 2, drop your combo and then walk away. If you're playing a champion that is especially strong at level 2, for example Talon, then more often than not, you're going to be walking away with a kill if the enemy player disrespects you. Now, this can be further extended into the level 3 power spike, but that one isn't going to be nearly as potent because both players are already going to have 2 abilities, and it's not going to be as big of a difference in power. Now, at number 8, we have the level 2 gank from the jungler. Certain junglers like Xin and Jarvan power spike insanely hard at level 2 because they have a gap closer and CC plus a lot of damage, so they can pull off a level 2 gank without really risking anything. Most of the time they're going to be able to get at least a flash from the enemy laner if they're not expecting it. Since a lot of junglers power spike at level 3, there's absolutely no risk of it being counter ganked, meaning if you are playing Jarvan or Xin, this is something that you should be looking to abuse frequently. This is especially useful against solo laners that are immobile early on into the game, like Kassadin or Renekton. Coming in at number 7, we have Hyper Tanks and their first resistance item. Now this is going to be our first item-reliant power spike that we're talking about. You see, power spikes don't just happen at levels. Sometimes it happens upon shopping. So champions like Ornn, Malphite, and Galio, who don't really get all too much from putting additional points in their abilities, actually power spike much harder when purchasing a full item. Granted, these power spikes are not as noticeable as they have been in the past due to the abundance of true damage in the game because of Conqueror. But with the true damage being moved off of Conqueror in the upcoming season, I wanted to start the discussion about hyper tanks and when they power spike. Now this power spike of theirs is going to be amplified if they are playing into a full AD or AP team. If Malphite is at 1.5 items and he's only taking physical damage, you're gonna be struggling to kill that guy. As a result, usually when a hyper tank gets just 1.5 items or 2 items, they're just going to look to group, stand in front, soak all of the damage, hard engage on the enemy team, and end the game. Honestly, the only way to deny a hyper tank from their power spike is just to play the pick and ban phase properly. Don't draft full AD into Malphite. Don't draft full magic damage into Dr. Mundo or Galio. These are all things that you should just obviously dodge. At number 6, we've got engaged supports and their level 6 all-in. This is going to be champions like Leona and Nautilus, who, as soon as they pop level 6, become one of the scariest things to lane against, especially as an ADC. In fact, if you're not playing a champion with inherent safety as an ADC, for example, Kai'Sa, Xayah, or Ezreal, you're probably going to die. On top of that, these champions don't need levels past level 6 in order to get more utility or more kill threat. The only thing that additional levels and items give to these types of champions is more survivability, which is not that important on a support. As a result, you'll oftentimes see players like AyyaSAP, for example, just roam around the map as soon as he hits level 6, diving tower after tower after tower and trying to screw over the enemy laners as much as he can. Engaged supports are forced to lane up until level 6 just so they can get as much EXP as possible so they can get that level 6, but as soon as they hit level 6, roaming becomes a really scary option for them. This is a power spike that most people don't keep in mind because if you're a mid laner playing against Leona or Nautilus, you're probably not thinking about what level is Nautilus, is he going to roam into my lane and ult me? This is the main benefit that hard engaged supports have over enchanters and mages. Their level 6 is far superior and they don't need gold or EXP to continue scaling past that point. Coming in at number 5, we've got ADCs and their 3-item power spike. Now, ADCs are a little bit unique because they don't really spike anywhere. They're just gradually going up in power as the game goes on and as they get more gold. ADCs are also really hard to talk about because the 3 best ADCs in the game all build different items. The one thing that we can say is that as soon as an ADC hits 3 items, they're going to be turning into a real damage threat. It's at this point where if you don't take care of the enemy ADC and kill them, they're probably just going to shred your entire team. This is the reason why farming is so important on ADC. Your only goal is to get to your 3-item power spike so that you can carry the game. Next up at number 4, we've got Triforce top laners. Now, Triforce might be the most expensive item in the game, but it is also one of the hardest power spikes in the entire game. This item turns pretty much any top laner in the game that can build it into a split-pushing monster. On top of that, unless you are playing a specific counter pick or another Triforce bruiser, you're probably not going to 1v1 them past their Triforce power spike. Champions like Jax, Camille, and Irelia all become insanely hard to deal with once they have this initial item, and they're only going to get harder to deal with as the game goes on. It's for this reason that you're allowed to just play safe when playing these champions before your Triforce. Most champions aren't going to outscale you, so you don't have to worry about making something happen in the lane phase. It's also the reason why these champions get camped so hard. If you allow these champions to get their Triforce, especially early on into the game, uncontested, then your top laner probably won't be able to deal with them anymore, and then you're going to have to commit even more resources to them. If you allow them to get even another item after that, then you're probably just going to have to be dealing with a split pushing top laner the entire game long, and you're just going to bleed resources slowly until you lose the game. Next up, we need to talk about level 16 power spikes. These are going to be champions that have game-changing ultimates that cap out in power at level 16. Champions like Karthus, Kassadin, and Syndra. Typically these are going to be mages simply because mages benefit off of levels so much more than AD champions do. Remember, AD champions are more centered around items, whereas mages are more centered around levels. So when champions like Kassadin or Karthus hit level 16, they're going to be able to just take control of a game. Syndra is similar, but she's a unique case because her passive gives her ultimate additional range when she hits level 16, so she just becomes that much better of a control mage. It's against these champions that you really need to look to close the game out before level 16. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Duskblade power spike. For all of those AD assassins out there, like Zed, Rengar, and Kha'Zix, Duskblade is going to be a massive power spike. Not only does it give you vision control, making your roams and ganks that much better, but it also is going to give you an insane amount of additional burst. Even if you are behind on these champions, you can still look to force kills to happen as soon as you finish this item. When dealing with a Duskblade champion, you're going to have to build defensively. This means GA, Zhonya's, Steric's Gauge. The item is so bursty and it just plays so well with the champion's kits that build it that there's not much that you can do to survive that burst. If you're playing an AD assassin and you're not utilizing Duskblade or your Duskblade power spike, you need to start doing that. If you're Rengar, just ult at people with Duskblade, you're going to one-shot them as long as you don't focus a pure tank. With Kha'Zix, you can look to invade the enemy jungler whenever your ultimate is off cooldown or perform ganks, and with Zed, you can look to just kill your laner on repeat every time your ult is up. Until the enemy champion that you're focusing gets a defensive item, or the enemy team groups, you're going to continuously get kills. Now, coming in at the number 1 spot, of course, is the Spear of Shojin power spike. Granted, this won't be in the game for all that much longer, but I can't just ignore it. Champions like Jax and Renekton just become unfair, honestly, once they purchase Spear of Shojin. These champions go from playing normal League of Legends before purchasing Spear to playing Earth mode after purchasing Spear. Obviously, it's not very fair for one champion to be playing Earth mode while the rest of the champions in the game are just playing normal Summoner's Rift. Jax specifically also has the added benefit of being able to have that Triforce power spike that I talked about earlier, meaning he turns into an unkillable 1v5 machine once he has both items completed. While these champions aren't completely unbeatable, you do need a specific team in order to deal with them, and certain teams just aren't going to be able to do anything once they have that Spear of Shojin. If you are playing Jax or Renekton with Spear of Shojin, you need to be looking to make 1v2s, 1v3s happen in the side lane and try to kill as many people as you can while your team sieges a tower in the top side or goes for Baron. If you are playing passive at this point, you need to play a different champion. You're playing them completely wrong. You need to be up, aggressive, abuse those power spikes. Hopefully I covered one of your favorite champions, and if I didn't, at least helped you figure out what some of your own power spikes might be. Understanding this concept might take a long time, but that's okay. As long as you are continuously working towards it, you will make progress eventually. If I didn't mention your champion specifically, I'm sorry, there are a ton of champions in this game and I just can't cover them all. There's also some champions that do power spike, but their power spikes aren't all that impressive. For example, Wukong can get Duskblade, and cool, he does a little bit more damage, but it's still the equivalent of just giving a cannon minion Baron buff. Now, I don't hate Wukong, the champion is just awful, and I'm using him as an example here. But yeah, I know I didn't hit every single power spike, so make sure to let me know some of your favorite power spikes in a comment down below. The more power spikes that we can share in the comments, the more all of us will know about the game in general. Hopefully, even I can learn some new power spikes that I didn't know about before. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles, as well as champion specific courses So if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. I've checked out a lot of the content on there myself personally, and I can honestly say it is all very high quality. If you are looking for a learning tool to help you improve your League of Legends gameplay, then our site is a site for you. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today. As always, I'm Panther. I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.